I try to incorporate all of the wushu styles that I've learned into my movies, but I must modernize them to a high standard to satisfy moviegoers. Generally speaking, when I'm shooting swordplay or period costume pictures, then I will use a lot of special effects to help enhance the action. Sometimes I use wires to give the effect that I'm flying or hovering, which makes the impossible seem believable on the screen. But when I'm shooting a more contemporary martial action movie like Fist of Legend, then I'll use more hand-to-hand, full contact fighting and less wires. But it really depends on the script to what fighting style I use. I was a real active boy back in 1971, and I had no idea what wushu was or that you could learn it. China has a large selection program for athletes. They take a whole class of children of the same age and segregate them into different groups. One group will follow football, another will learn gymnastics, the third soccer, the fourth baseball, and so on and so on. So it was by pure luck that I ended up in the wushu class. After studying the basics, the coach then tests your reflexes, IQ, speed, and endurance. If you pass, the government gives you a scholarship. They pay for your food and board and take care of your every need. We have to train for 8 hours a day. I started my training at 8. By the time I was 11, I was representing my country, demonstrating wushu in places like America, England, Ireland, Spain. By the time I was 16, I'd visited over 40 countries. Giving these demos was one of the ways China was reintroducing herself to the outside world. I still try to visit my teacher every year, but I don't train under him anymore. In Chinese, they have a saying, "Teacher leads us through the door," meaning that the teacher can only pass his knowledge on to you, but your destiny is in your own hands. So from when I was 8 to 17, my master taught me all my techniques. But when I began my movie career at 18, I was on my own. For instance, we all know the alphabet, but we all use it differently. My classmates and I all learned the same teaching. Just like musicians all practice the same piece of music, only some turn out better than others. After making a few documentary films, I got my first chance to star in a real movie in 1980, The Shaolin Temple. Hong Kong is the world leader in making martial arts movies. Taiwan are behind Hong Kong, China also. Hong Kong has all the best players and technology. The company that made the Shaolin Temple was a small independent film company, so they couldn't afford to employ a famous action director or big-name actors. So instead, they found real wushu champions to act in the film. So for the first 2 films, we didn't use a choreographer. We did it all ourselves. When the film came out, China was still closed off to the outside world. There was no cable television or anything like that, so when the Shaolin Temple was released, the whole country went mad. Everyone went to see the film, from children to grandparents. China has great PR resources, and soon my face was everywhere. Soon everyone knew who I was. Within a couple of weeks of the film's opening, I had received a dozen sacks of mail. I was already well known among sports circles. I'd received the highest sporting honor the country has to offer. So all sports fans knew me. But compared to the fame the film brought me, it was nothing. Now everyone knew me, from soldiers to factory workers. I enjoyed the fame. I was so happy, but there were some sacrifices I had to make. I couldn't go out shopping and stuff that ordinary people do. I ended up staying at home a lot. Between 1980 to 1988, I made 4 films. 3 were to do with the Shaolin Temple. The 4th was Born to Defend. During the shooting of that movie, I suffered a very serious internal injury. It was so serious that I had to take a long break from films. During that time, I met a grandmaster of Chinese medicine who used only natural herbs. Western remedies had not worked for me, but this old master cured me. I took some more rest, and then in 1988, I moved to the States. From 1990 to 1994, there were mainly two types of films being produced in Hong Kong, Wong Fei Hung and swordplay. The action was much more fancy and exciting than in the kung fu movies of the 70s and 80s. The swordplay films use a more romantic approach to the action. In Asia, the audience loves to watch period martial arts films. I had always wanted to go to America and make a martial arts film set in the Wild West. I knew that my films were sold to Chinatowns all over the world, but I had no idea that I was so well known by Western audiences. Whether they learned about me through videos or books, I don't know. Hong Kong movies are now accepted all over the world. Hollywood companies are using more and more Hong Kong directors and choreographers in their own movies, hoping that some of that Hong Kong movie-making magic can rub off on their own productions. I think that now is the right time for Hong Kong and Hollywood movies to merge.
所以才请他们去好莱坞拍，配合美国的设备，配合美国的那个制作，来看看有什么火花。希望，我想这是一个，在这个电影史上，这个现在是一个最好的一个timing，最好的一个时候。